Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly, and today we are going to be continuing to do some stretches and use yoga to give our muscles some love after doing things like working out at the gym, doing some cardio, weightlifting, or even if you are somebody who sits at a desk for long periods of the day, this is going to be a video for you. So today we are going to be doing another video where we're focusing on our chest and back. I'm going to show you guys two moves that you can do to help open up the chest and kind of relax some of those muscles, especially if you're kind of sore and those pec muscles are like right underneath the collarbones, and then one move to help lengthen out and stretch the back. So what you are going to need for today is a set of yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks at home, what you can do is if you have a bolster or if you have a body pillow, that would also work. Or you can always grab yourself a blanket or a towel and we'll roll that up and use that, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to it today. So make sure that you have some kind of prop with you to get started and your mat laid out, and we will go ahead and get started. So for our first move today, we are going to go ahead and lay down on our backs on the mat. So we'll find our way down, laying on the mat with feet planted, knees up towards the ceiling. And the first move that we are going to do is bridge pose. So before we do come up into bridge pose, one thing to keep in mind in terms of alignment is to walk the feet in closer to the hips, just enough to where if you have your hands next to you and out straight, that you can kind of just touch the back of your heels. That'll give you a good alignment straight from your knee down to your ankle. So we'll do that first. So make sure you can touch your heel with your fingertips. And then once you have done that, we'll take a big inhale, laying down. So inhale nice and deep. And then on our exhale, we'll push our feet down into the mat and start to lift the hips up just enough to where we end up having a straight line from our shoulders all the way down to our knees. So if you look, you'll probably be able to see your stomach and lower abdomen as well as your thighs sticking out. And then you can just have your hands down on the mat, fingers and palms flat down to give you a little bit of extra support here. And we'll just hold this for a couple of breaths and make sure that you're still breathing here. And we're really just opening up the chest, also opening up the stomach. So this might help if your abs are a little sore. Okay, great guys. Take one more inhale with me. And on your next exhale, we'll go ahead and lower all the way back down. Okay, so that was bridge pose in its most basic form. So we'll go ahead and do that one more time and hold for 3 breaths. So go ahead and take an inhale. And then as you exhale, we'll push the mat away, bring hips up towards the ceiling, find that straight line from the shoulders down to the knees. Make sure that the back of the neck is nice and elongated. Okay, one more inhale. And then as you exhale, we'll lower the hips back down to the mat. Okay, nice job guys. So we are going to do this one more time, and I'm going to show you one more thing that you can do in bridge pose to just open the chest up even more and find a deeper stretch in the chest area. So make sure that your hands are nice and planted on the mat, feet nice and planted. We'll take our inhale and then exhale, pushing up, hips come up. And once you feel nice and sturdy in your bridge pose, what we'll do is we'll bring our hands underneath us and interlace the fingers. And then once you've done that, we'll just take one shoulder at a time, and we're going to externally rotate that shoulder to where it actually comes underneath a little bit. So if you watch me, I'll do left first underneath, and then I'll do the right. So you're thinking about curving those shoulders underneath you, bringing the palms as close together and interlacing those fingers as much as you can. Bringing elbows closer together. We're really opening the chest, opening up the stomach here. Take one more breath. Exhale. One more inhale. And then as you exhale, we're actually going to keep our hands interlaced behind us and start to lower the hips down to where the top of the butt, the low back, is going to be resting on the fingers. And this is just, again, going to be opening up our chest even more. One thing to keep in mind here is to make sure that your hips are tilted up towards the ceiling and not underneath. That way you have this big arch in the low back, but you want to tuck them kind of up and under and make sure that your low back is nice and elongated. Now for some people, they might find this to actually be really, really uncomfortable. I know that whenever I first started practicing this specific variation of bridge, I found it to just be strange. Like, why am I sitting on my fingers? This kind of hurts. So if it does, then you can just kind of unlace the fingers and rather just sit on the backs of the palms. That's totally fine. Or you might find that this is just not a variation that you want to do regularly in your home practice. So this one's a little bit hit or miss with people, so you decide what you would like to do in terms of your practice regularly at home. Okay guys, we're going to take one more inhale. And then as we exhale, we'll go ahead and bring those shoulders back up here and then lower the hips all the way down to the mat. Alright guys, so that was bridge pose with a couple of variations. So at home, like I said, you can play around with this, decide how far you want to go. Do you just want to do bridge pose for the day? Do you want to tuck the shoulders underneath? Do you want to sit on your wrist? Decide what feels good and what feels like it's opening up the chest the most for you. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the second pose of the day, and this is when you're going to need your prop. So like I said, if you have blocks, then great. I'll show you first with the blocks what we're going to do, and then I will show you what you can do with a blanket or a towel if that's what you have instead. So if you are working with a set of blocks, what I want you to do is go ahead and take them, and you're going to put one perpendicular, I think that's the word, yeah, perpendicular to the mat, and then one that is going the opposite direction. I don't know these math terms, but and decide how tall you want those to be. What we're going to be doing is actually laying back on these to do another pose that's going to be opening up the chest. So if this is a brand new pose for you, then you might do the lowest setting on the first one and then the middle setting of the second one, and this one's going to be where your head is going to rest, so have this one up a little bit higher. I'll do this just to show you guys what that's like, and then I'll come up and show you this one. But if you are working with a blanket or a towel, go ahead and grab that, and then what you're going to want to do is fold it to where you have an edge that is probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 inches, 8 inches, around in that realm, about the length of like 3/4 of your back or so. So go ahead and fold it in about that length, and then you're just going to bring it out in front of you, and then we're going to start to roll it. So we're going to roll this all the way down. And you might actually find that even if you have blocks, this is how you want to practice it regularly. I know that whenever I would go to classes, I would much prefer to grab a bolster and use that because it just feels so restful and so nice on my back. But if you are doing this, then you have a nice kind of burrito here. And then you are just going to lay that where I have the blocks. You're going to lay that right in the center of your mat, giving you a little bit of space up top for where your head is going to go. Now, if You want to have your head laying off the back. That is totally fine with something soft like this, but if you want to have a little bit of support, you can grab a block or a book or even a pillow if you want to do that, and you can always place that back there, and that can be what your head can rest on. So decide what kind of a setup that you want today with whatever you have available. While I have the blanket out here, I will show you first with the blanket, and then I will switch and show you what it looks like with the blocks. So what we're going to do is you have your blanket in the center here. We're going to come to sit in front of it, and you want to leave yourself just a little bit of space between where you're sitting and the blanket. That'll give us our low back a little bit of space, so we're not actually doing a huge curve, that's the word, in the low spine. We want to have it in the mid spine. So what we'll do is you can plant your feet on the mat, knees up towards the ceiling, and then we'll just start to lean back onto the blanket. And you want to have that right underneath, in between your shoulder blades, so it's right along the spine. I'm going to move mine down just a little bit here. I'll give my head some space. And then once you've kind of found what feels comfortable for you, like I said, you can always put a pillow, or you could put a block or a book underneath the head if you'd like that to be up a little bit more. You decide what feels good. And then once you've decided and you found your sweet spot, we'll go ahead and take the arms and lay them out on either side of us. I like to do palms up towards the ceiling. I just find that for me that really helps me open up the shoulders even more, and it externally rotates them a little bit versus having my palms down. That wants to encourage my shoulders to actually curve in towards the chest, and I'm looking for an external rotation. So you decide there what feels good. I'm going to have my palms up. And then we'll take a couple of breaths. Feel free to close your eyes if you'd like to do that. Now once you get kind of settled into this pose a little bit, what you can do as well, it's another alternative, is that you can bring the legs out either straight, and that's just going to bring your hips down a little bit lower and open the chest and the back up a little bit more. Or you can actually bring the feet together and have knees come out to either side in a bound ankle pose here. And that is just going to give you some opening up in the hip if you wanted to have that happen as well as the chest. So a couple of options here. As you're deciding what feels good, I'm going to show you what it looks like with both blocks. So I'll move my blanket out from underneath here. And then I'll put my block on the lowest setting to get started. And like I said, you want that to be about mid-back, in between the shoulder blades. So I'll have that about in that spot on the mat. Yep, that feels pretty good. And then my other block is going to be under my head, giving it support. So same thing here. You're going to be deciding what you would like to do with the arms, with the legs. What feels good? It's going to give you that stretch that you're looking for. And as I mentioned, if you want to and you have a block, you can always put that up onto the medium height, and that's going to push the chest up even more and give you even more of a stretch. So I'm going to bring this block up so my head is a little bit higher than in my back. Just like that. Yep. As you can see, I have a much bigger arch now that I've put my block up onto the medium height. Now you can always do this with blankets or towels at home if you want to get more of a bend. you can just get a thicker towel or maybe do a roll with a couple of towels or blankets, and that'll help get you a higher kind of base to lay back on. So you can kind of play with this again, decide what is going to work for you, figure out what you have available at home. And then the idea here is that we want to just breathe and allow our breath to relax this chest area, relax the muscles up here, and just start to melt onto the blocks or the blanket. Really just let the shoulders and the chest kind of hang over the block and try to, almost like they're going to melt down over the block and into the mat. So we'll hold this for a couple more breaths. As I mentioned, feel free to close your eyes if you would like to do that. And then on your next inhale, we'll go ahead and have you open your eyes if you have them closed. And then we'll bring our elbows underneath us and our forearms onto the mat and give ourselves a little push off of our blocks and back up to a seated position. Okay guys, so nice job. Lots of options with that one. One thing that I really love about that position is that it can end up being a really restorative, restful position if you want it to be. So you can decide again like how tall you want it to be, how much of an arch you would like, and you can really lay there for I know some teachers will have their students lay there for 10 minutes and really get that benefit of that kind of melting feeling that I mentioned while we were laying there. So that's one that you can do for as long as you want, really, and it's a really great restful recovery position for after working out, or if you're somebody who is sitting at a desk all day. We tend to kind of get that hunch from, sitting there and typing, and this is really going to give you the opposite effect and open that back up and give you a nice stretch. So feel free to do that one at home for as long as you want and play around with the height and laying arms and all of that stuff. So we're going to do one more for the day. This is something that I like to do right after I actually do that pose, just to kind of make sure that my back is going to be kind of reset and feel good and give it a nice twist, a little bit more love after doing that. So we will go ahead and come back to laying down on our mats with our feet on the mat, knees up towards the ceiling, just like we did in bridge pose. And then once you get there, we'll bring both knees in towards the chest and wrap our arms around the shins and kind of give them a nice big hug. And then we'll take a big inhale. And then on the exhale, we'll let both knees start to fall off to one side. I'm going to choose the right side. And then once they've gotten to the ground, you can take your opposite arm and let that come out to the side. And if you want to, you can even turn the head to look towards that arm. So what I really like about this pose is that it's stretching the back out nice and long while also giving it a nice twist. So if you've been doing any kind of like back workouts, if you've been, again, sitting at a desk or doing anything like that, and you find that you're having some back pain, this is a really great one to just kind of wring all of that tightness and soreness out. And it can also be really restful and calming at the same time. So this is definitely one of my favorite poses. So we'll do a couple more breaths, guys. Make sure that you're breathing here. We always want to use our breath. And then on your next inhale, we'll go ahead and come back up to center. If you'd like to, you can kind of give your legs one more squeeze before we do the other side. And then we'll inhale first here in center. And then as we exhale, we'll let the knees fall to the opposite side. Opposite arm can come out to the side if you'd like to do that. And the same arm can just rest on top of the legs. Or you can always put it out. Some people I know like to have this kind of sprawled, teed out with their arms, and they find that to be really comfortable. And one thing with this pose, if you're finding that you're struggling to get that top leg down to rest on the lower leg, you can always take, again, a block or even a blanket, and you can just prop that in between the knees. So that way you don't feel like the leg has to hang there. I know that's not super comfortable. So you can place something, a pillow or whatever, in between your knees, and that'll give it a little bit of support and restfulness as well. You're welcome to also close your eyes in this position too. Doing some more restful, restorative poses today. Do one more breath. If you have something between your knees, go ahead and remove that. And then on the inhale, we'll come back to center and give our legs one more big squeeze. You can always rock side to side if you'd like to do that. And then we'll come back up to a seated position. You can either rock yourself back and forth like this, come up, or you can let your knees fall off to the side and then push yourself up. Okay. All right, guys. So that was another day of giving our chest and back some love and do some stretching and all of that. So I hope that you found it helpful, and I hope that it gives you some of that recovery and restoration that you're looking for, especially after you've been working out at the gym or had a long day at work. If you are someone who is wanting to get some blocks for your home practice, if you're interested in doing that, I have a couple of recommendations down in the description box. There are some blocks that I've used in the past. This is one of them. So if you are looking for blocks, there's some recommendations down there. If you like this video, feel free to like it and feel free to subscribe. There'll be more of these videos coming out very soon. And until then, guys, I will see you next time.